forget to subscribe.
It's like, well, look, I made my money doing sales, and I decided to start making cold calls.
Yeah.
And they would just say, pick up the phone, smile, and dial. All right, cool. Do you think I just called one client?
Yeah.
I think I just was like, yeah, I made my... Dude, I had to make 500 calls in a day. Boom, 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 boom. Sales, I say this all the time, is a lot like dating. You got to go out, you got to hit options. Like, it's a law of large numbers, law of averages.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Every no is you're closer to a yes.
Exactly. Every no is closer to yes. Amazing. So, and what you find in sales and also in dating, the more sales calls you make, the more you deal with rejection. It's not even a big deal.
Exactly.
It's my 100th call that hung out with me. And the girl that's like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just go talk to this girl. I'm good.
And then
it rolls off your back.
Your vibe gets better. And then your riz gets better as a result of... So you can go to the club. Actually, Myron talked about this. He used to talk about this back in the day. He would say... He would go to the club in Miami before he was famous or whatever. And he would talk to sometimes 40 or 50 girls in the night. Not because he was... Obviously, he was getting probably... He could have got phone numbers and stuff. He was looking for like sort of kind of fun pretty quickly, or he was looking for girls who showed him immediate interest. If they didn't show him immediate interest, he'd be like, okay, on to the next one. 40 or 50 girls in the night. Do you know what I mean? You have to be doing that volume.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, but keep in mind, and I say this, that's the life of a guy, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, we're going to weigh in on this. We're going to have your ladies weigh in a second. But I'll say this: keep in mind, Byron's a 6'3", in shape, good-looking, black guy, light skin, like doing his thing, has game, is smart, is intelligent, literally knows the rules of the game. Yeah. And he is still like, all right, what do I got to talk to with the numbers? So imagine the guy in the example you gave that's just average height, average income, no game, no riz, like what's going through his head? So I think buddy, 6'9", multimillionaire, NBA player, one of my best friends. And this
Where's he at?
Yeah, well, this is 10 years ago. And he's like, listen guys, here's how it's done, okay? All you got to do is walk in the bar, stand on the wall, make eye contact with a girl, and just give her one of these, and that's all you gotta do. I'm like, yeah, when you're fucking 6'9", everyone knows who you are, you're on the cover of tabloids, yeah, it's a little easier that. It's like, I wanna hear what the 5'7", bald, broke dude is doing to get laid. Like, I wanna hear his story, because that guy's gotta work. And I brought this up to Justin Waller, and I said, listen, Waller, some people will say, you're a good-looking guy, 6'3", you're hanging with the Tates, you're like, you're a known guy.
Alright, so there's a lot to unpack there. There's really 3 really important lessons from that Valuetainment Money channel. They're talking about a lot of dating topics. I would love to go on the Valuetainment podcast. I would love to do that actually. That would be really awesome. If you guys are out there, please hit me up. I would love to fly over there and do it. But anyway, they're talking about a lot of dating topics these days, and cold approach being more of a numbers game is one of the things that they've been bringing up recently. It does make sense. He also talks about how he had to cold call a lot of people in order to get some sort of success. One factor that they didn't bring into the equation is that when they mentioned online dating, the online dating numbers, Tinder, Bumble, etc., they have a lower flake rate than Daygame and Cold Approach, because, well, the girls are in the apps and they know what they're in for. Also, the girls are more likely to be down for a fling, one-night stand, etc. So when they give you their number through, say, Tinder, Bumble, or whatever is going to replace this app soon, hopefully they do replace these apps soon, because my understanding is that they're getting more and more expensive, and they've got a bit of a monopoly on the market, and the service that they're providing is pretty low quality. And also a large percentage of the girls on these apps aren't very high quality. You're more likely to get higher quality girls out here approaching them, obviously, because not all girls are out there. But if you cold approach a girl out here, she might have a multitude of things going on in her life, and she doesn't expect you to come over and talk to her and speak to her. So it's not really, when she's getting on an app, she knows what she's in for, right? So she's more likely to respond and know that when she gives you her number, it's time to go on a date with you, and more likely to sleep with you. She's also prepared for a one-night stand, etc. But when it is a cold approach like out here, so many other factors can play into this. It might be cloudy, she might not be in the best mood. You might approach her on a Sunday night or a Monday morning where she's depressed because she's on her way to work and it's the beginning of the week, rather than approaching her on a Friday or Saturday lunchtime where she's in a better mood. her cat could have died yesterday. She might be in a situationship and not tell you that she's in a relationship, because she's not really in a relationship. She's just sleeping with one guy that probably has a rotation of girls, and she'd rather just be one of those rotating girls, and she's not quite ready to try for a real relationship, or to sleep around, because she's getting everything she wants from him and she's got other things going on in her life, etc. So the flake rate out here is a little bit higher. So this is why when guys talk about it being a bit of a numbers game, they do have a little bit of a case, but there are a lot of strategies to increase the rate. And when almost no men are approaching at all, you've got a monopoly out here pretty much, because almost no guys are approaching at all themselves anyway. So that's one. Two is really exposure to rejection. And the host did mention that as well, that after making 500 cold calls, after a while he just got used to it and just kept cold calling, knowing that every rejection was closer to a win. Some guys will come to me, and I think my biggest victory this year was a guy who literally day one, he's like, I think I'm about to quit. I'll give it 3 more months, I'm going to quit. And then he gets himself a beautiful girl way above his mate value, and a success during an immersion, which does happen quite often when I have guys that are, you know, even just average attractiveness, because a lot of my cold approach skills and coaching now is getting quite advanced. So you can even up the stats in your favor. It's not just a numbers game, but also I think that you need to take into account that in the early stages you're going to get some rejection, and you need to get the exposure to that so that you can get used to it. The other aspect of it is you don't want to be getting the rejection and then start becoming bitter and having that negatively affect your dating life and your cold approach life, because you're having all of these issues, carrying the baggage and getting angry, etc. So you don't want to be doing any of that, and that's another thing that I teach out here as well. 3 is that looks do matter. So they did mention that even Myron, he's 6'3", he's slim, he's now famous, and he's rich, and he's black, so he's probably got a massive cock. He ticks all of the boxes, and this guy will still go out and approach 50 girls in a nightclub. So what is a short dude that is ugly and old and poor got to do? Well, he's got to have some advanced game. So when you think about it that way, there's also the fact that, you know, mate value plays a big part here. And this is why when I see a lot of guys going to tall, handsome, good-looking coaches, they've never had to battle it. And this is why the host of Valuetainment made a lot of sense, because it made a lot of sense to me, and a lot of guys out there aren't necessarily getting that, because I'm not getting a lot of guys that are relatively good-looking in their 20s. Most of my clients that are coming to me are white dudes in their 40s or older. So a lot of my success is probably one of the hardest demographics, or guys that are Indian, but also older Indian guys as well. But a lot of the good-looking guys, they're going to good-looking young coaches, and when you really think about it, it's like, well, what type of skill and what type of knowledge base would these young coaches be building up? They don't know what they're talking about, because they've never had to come up against the adversity of being of lower mate value, and that's not a bad thing. I think a lot of guys see that as a bad thing. I can only get coaching from a good-looking guy. Imagine the success rate a guy like myself can get you compared to a pretty boy that's never had to develop himself. Think about that. That's the difference. The difference is I can get you far better results because I've had to battle my entire life. I've had to come up with extremely advanced methods to make Daygame work, cold approach work, anything work. Hell, I would use online dating if it actually worked for a guy my age and my height. It just doesn't. I would go into the nightclubs and be risen up girls at 2 AM in the morning after a few drinks if that worked, but it doesn't at my age. Which means that any guy of lower mate value, I can help. And I can get them better results than any of the pretty boys out there, and that's just facts. That's not me just spruiking my coaching. It's a fact. And this is why when people talk about these things, they're like, oh, where's your infields? They're like, oh, show me the 10s that you've got. That's not what we're doing here, guys. You guys know pound for pound in the UFC? It's like getting Alexander Volkanovski, the pound for pound champ, the world's best fighter, who's shorter than me, fighting John Jones, the heavyweight champ. It just doesn't work that way. You have a 40-year-old guy that's shorter going up against a really good-looking tall guy. It's not exactly a fair fight, is it? It's not exactly a fair comparison, but when you guys look at infields, that's all you look at, which is wrong. The other aspect of the UFC, which is an art form as well, martial arts, pick-up art, they're exactly the same sort of thing. You have the standard way of doing it, then you have the advanced way that the elite guys do. The elite guys come up with their own advanced sort of methods. Now, the thing here is, I like the Ultimate Fighter. I'd love to have the Ultimate PUA or something along those lines. And I like the beginning of it where you would have 2 coaches and a whole group of guys, and one coach would pick one guy and go on his team. It's like in school, and then the other coach will get to pick one guy, and then you build your team. Then those guys get coached by the coach, and we find out who gets the best results at the end of, you know, the series or whatever. I would love to do that, and it's not exactly the same as the keys to the VIP, because it is a little bit more subjective with the keys of the VIP, because what we have is a bunch of coaches using their subjective opinions based on who has success, which does get us closer to the truth, because there were some times where there was a stripper, a good-looking guy with a six-pack and jacked, good-looking dude, who had better success in one of the challenges in the keys to the VIP, but they gave the win to the lower mate value, not as good-looking guy, because he performed better even though he got lesser results. That's where the judges came in. That's where the judges showed what their you know, they earned their money that day. With the ultimate PUA or ultimate dating coach, which might be an even better one, I would love to be able to put my methods by picking a bunch of random guys against any coach in the industry and just seeing who has better game. This is what men do. And this is why we have all these issues in the industry, because guys are like, oh, well, I've got my subjective opinion and here's a video attacking some other guy. The thing is, with sports, and the reason why men love sports so much, is that there's a referee, there's clear-cut rules, there's sideline judges, there's an audience, you know, judging and commenting. There's a video referee just in case the referee doesn't see things. And there's probably a video referee, yeah, there's a video referee sitting up somewhere that gets to review the footage if there's a problem. And they get closer and closer to the truth of which is the better team. Why not do that with dating coaches if there's such a disparity here and people can't choose who is the best? If Valuetainment were to put that down, I would love to be one of the coaches on there. I would love to have my knowledge coaching guys up against one of these pretty boys out there and see who can coach guys better. That would be awesome, regardless of whether I win or not, because that would get us closer to the truth. But anyway, that was an interesting podcast by Valuetainment. I wanted to talk about it, and I also wanted to say I'd love to go on their channel. But anyway, check out the website, top link in the description. If you want to learn a little bit about myself, and you read books like David Goggins, maybe read my book, The Disabled Casanova, and see where I came from. It's kind of in a similar vein to the David Goggins things, except I'm not American, don't have the advantages of David Goggins. I've had to battle a lot harder through more adversity. So you can check that out, top link in the description, check out the website, and if you're interested in learning some cold approach in Sydney, Australia, this is Sydney. Also, I'm not a dating coach sitting in a third world country who's half my age, taller than me, better looking, with more money. I'm a dating coach in Sydney, Australia, coaching in one of the most difficult cities in the world. And if you're in Sydney, hit me up. We can work some magic. See you guys next video.